So what have your muscles, your breakfast eggs, and even the antibodies fighting off your last cold got in common? Well, the answer is one of the most essential molecules for life itself, protein. Today, we're going to unpack the very blueprint of these incredible molecules. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture of what proteins do. Then we'll break them down into their basic parts, see how they're actually built, how our bodies use them, and finally, we'll get to the practical stuff, how much you really need. First up, let's meet the body's master builders. We don't always think about them, but proteins are the real builders and doers inside of us. They handle a totally astonishing range of jobs that keep us going every single second of the day. Okay, so on a technical level, a protein is what's called a macronutrient. One of the main nutrients we need a lot of. And it's special because it contains nitrogen. But honestly, that simple definition barely scratches the surface. Their real purpose is providing the raw materials to build and operate, well, pretty much every part of you. So if proteins are these big, complex buildings, what are they actually made of? Let's zoom in and deconstruct them down to their fundamental components, amino acids. You can really just think of them as the Lego bricks of the biological world. And just like a house is made of bricks, every single protein in your body is built from these little molecules. It doesn't matter if it's a muscle protein or a digestive enzyme, they all start here. The specific order of these amino acid bricks is what decides what the final protein is going to be and what it can do. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Our bodies are pretty amazing little factories. They can make some amino acids all on their own. We call those the non-essential ones. But there's another group, the essential amino acids, that our bodies just can't manufacture. No way, no how. These have to come from the food we eat, which is a huge reason why your diet is so incredibly important. Okay, so we've got our bricks, the amino acids. How in the world do they go from a simple little chain to a complex three-dimensional machine that can actually do something? Well, it all comes down to 4 levels of structure, kind of like a super detailed architectural plan. Check this out. First, you've got the primary structure. That's just a straight line of amino acids, literally like a string of beads. Next, that string starts to coil up like a slinky or fold back on itself like a paper fan. That's the secondary structure. Then it gets way more complex. The tertiary structure is where all those coils and folds bend and twist into a unique, compact 3D shape. And for some proteins, there's one last step, the quaternary level, where multiple folded chains link up to become a kind of protein supermachine. So, you might be wondering, does every single protein have to go through all 4 of those super complex stages? And the answer is nope. A whole lot of proteins are completely functional and ready to go to work once they hit that 3D tertiary shape. That final 4th level is really just for the heavy hitters, those big protein machines that need multiple parts to get their job done right. So, we've seen how proteins are built inside our bodies, but how do we get them from, say, a chicken breast or a handful of almonds into our cells where they're actually needed? Let's follow the journey, right from your plate. It's basically a deconstruction process. It all starts in your stomach, where powerful acid and an enzyme called pepsin start sniffing those long protein chains into smaller chunks. Then, in the small intestine, more enzymes jump in and break them down even further, all the way back to individual amino acids. From there, they get absorbed into your bloodstream, and boom, they're ready for delivery anywhere in the body that needs them. And now for the really cool part. We've built them, we've digested them, so what do they actually do? Let's take a second to just appreciate the insane variety of jobs these molecules have. I mean, just look at this list. They build your muscles. They're the structural components of your hair and nails. They act as enzymes and hormones, sending signals all over the place. They are your antibodies, fighting off germs. They help your blood clot when you get a cut. They keep the fluid in your body balanced. And if you're really in a bind, your body can even use them for energy. It's truly amazing. So all of that brings us to a really practical question, right? If proteins are this important, how much do we actually need to eat? Let's turn all this cool science into a simple number you can actually use. The general rule of thumb, the recommendation you'll see most often, is 0.8 grams of protein for every single kilogram you weigh. So you can do a little quick math to figure out what your personal target should be each day. But, and this is a really important but, there are exceptions. For example, during pregnancy and lactation, the needs go up. The recommendation jumps by an extra 25 grams per day to make sure there's enough to support both mom and baby. So there you have it. From a simple string of amino acid beads to the microscopic machinery that literally powers our lives, the story of protein is, well, it's the story of us. So I'll leave you with one last question. Now that you know the blueprint, how are you going to build your day?